right now, and we want to bring our viewers around the world up to speed, as well as everyone who is watching us here in the United States. The worst mass shooting in U.S. history happened last night. At least 50 people are dead. At least 200 people are injured, some of them quite critically. This happened at a huge outdoor concert. It's called the Route 91 Harvest Festival. This was in Las Vegas, along the Las Vegas Strip. Gunmen opened fire from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel and mowed down people, concert goers, who were outside listening. At that moment, country superstar Jason Aldean was on stage. The numbers keep going up in just a sickening, shocking fashion. At least 50 people. That outpaces any mass shooting, even the Pulse nightclub, that we've ever seen here in the United States. The suspect was killed. He was 64 years old. He had an associate, a person of interest, who the police now have identified and found. They say that their investigation is just beginning, and it will be long and protracted.
And look, they don't know a motivation for this killing yet, but more than 50 people dead. I think by any definition, you can call it an act of terror. We have someone with us right now on the phone who was there right on the scene after it happened. Taxi driver Corianne Langdon, who shot this video from inside her car. My goodness, you can hear the loud gunfire ringing out as she waited in the taxi line outside the Mandalay Bay Resort.
Coming from
Corianne joins us by the phone right now. Thank you for being with us. I hope you're okay. Please tell me what you saw.
Oh, I'm fine. I just feel so horrible for everybody, and now I'm finding out how many people are dead. I didn't realize it before, so I feel really bad. Basically, I was at the Mandalay Bay. It was very quiet, and I was just sitting in the taxi line waiting for a ride, and all of a sudden I heard a couple of pops, and I thought it was just fireworks coming from the festival across the street, and so I didn't think much about it, and then a couple of seconds later it started again, and I just decided to turn on my video on my cell phone, and I still didn't know what was going on, and there's, like I saw a security guard going by, and but it just was, everything would just seem so normal. I didn't think anything of it, and then I started hearing my fellow taxi drivers on our dispatch radio start saying, oh yeah, there's somebody shooting, and it's over by the Mandalay Bay. And I thought, well, I'm right here at the Mandalay Bay, and I don't hear anything going on. So anyway, but I did decide that maybe I should go ahead and get out of there. And as I was coming back around, I heard and saw the shot, being fired. It sounded like, by then I realized something really was going on, but you only see that kind of stuff in movies, really. I didn't really comprehend what was actually going on. And so I came back around, and by now, everybody on our dispatch radio was saying, oh, okay, get out of there, there's an active shooter. So I went ahead and got out of there. And I went across, it wasn't until I crossed Las Vegas Boulevard and saw all the cop cars, and I saw a couple of cop cars, or a couple cops behind there with shotguns. I thought, oh, something's really going on. So I came back around, and that's when I saw people starting to run and scream, and they were coming out of the festival venue, and there was people coming over the fences, and people started running towards my car. And again, it was just surreal. I didn't really comprehend what was going on. And two people came up and said, oh, she's got a broken leg, can she get in? And I said, yeah, go ahead. And so she got in, and then all these other people started running up to my cab, and I took as many as I could, and people were screaming, and then I filmed some people. I realized it was really bad, and when I started going across, and there's people, in front of my cab, and then I saw, people laying on the ground there and being attended to with triage and everything. And then everybody in my cab started screaming and saying there was blood all over them, and they were, that there's hundreds of people dead inside. Of course, these people were freaked out, and that's when I started to realize, oh my God, something's wrong. And so I got out of there as soon as possible, and they kept saying, take us to, the Strip. And I said, no, we want to get as far away as possible. It was I wasn't really scared then, but I guess I'm scared now. And I feel really bad for everybody and all the families.
Well, listen, Corianne, it's because of bravery of people like you that we know Las Vegas will get through this. You helped people, you got them into your car and got them out to safety, was exactly what they needed at the time. Corianne, thank you so much for telling us what you saw, and we are glad you are okay.
Oh, thank you so much. God bless the families.
Yeah, you too.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We do have breaking news. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. This is New Day. It's Monday, October 2nd. It's 7 o'clock here in New York. And John Berman joins me in the studio because we have breaking news of the worst variety. The deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history has just happened. At least 50 people are dead and more than 200 are injured after a gunman has opened fire at an outdoor music country festival on the Las Vegas Strip. Concert goers captured the terror as hundreds of these gunshots rang out from what sounds like an automatic weapon. Here's a moment of that. Breaking news is coming in obviously very fast. It's still an extremely fluid situation in terms of the numbers and the investigation, but the Las Vegas Sheriff's Department did just confirm that the suspect was killed. The shooter has been identified. He is 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. Police say that there was a female companion of his or a roommate. She was called a person of interest. For a while, she was missing, or they were looking for her, along with two vehicles that they thought were involved. But all of that has now been located by the police. The woman is being spoken to by police, and they've found the cars. Again, this music festival was the Route 91 Harvest Festival right next to the Mandalay Bay Resort. It was going on while country music singer Jason Aldean was performing. The shooting, you can hear it. It went on and on and on. Thousands of spectators running for their lives. Arjee Kasara is on the scene just shortly after the shooting happened. She joins us now from Las Vegas with the breaking details. Jean.
We're right here on the south end of the Las Vegas Strip. I want to let you know what I just saw. I just saw two ambulances leaving from behind me, which is where the Mandalay Bay is. But more importantly, I just saw an ambulance go back into where would the crime scene be. It did have its lights on. It was traveling at a rapid rate of speed. But this crime scene investigation is going to be long. It is going to be protracted. And we can tell you because police just said in their press conference that this very minute a search warrant is being executed in the room of Stephen Paddock. That is at the Mandalay Bay. It is right behind me. We are about 1 mile away. And while that search warrant is being executed at the hotel room, moments from now, they said a search warrant would be executed at Stephen Paddock's residence here in Las Vegas. Yes, he's a local person. He is 64 years old. They do believe that they have found his female roommate. They are calling a of interest. Now, at the police headquarters, the Red Cross is assembling because, as the police said, the hospitals are overwhelmed at this point. There are at least 50 dead. They don't have a firm number. There are at least 200 people injured. We do know one police officer remains in critical condition in the hospital. We also know that as part of that country music concert, that one off-duty Las Vegas police officer was shot and killed as he was watching Jason Aldean perform. But the Red Cross is assembling so family members and friends, if they do not know where their family members are, they can come and they can get assistance to try to find them. University Medical Center, Level 1 Trauma Center here in Las Vegas, a Level 2 Trauma Center also here in Las Vegas. It was 10:08 in the midst of a country western music concert by superstar Jason Aldean. It was lively on the Strip, and that's when the shots rang out. Terrifying moments in Las Vegas after a gunman opens fire at a country music concert.
It was chaos and mayhem because people were running out of everywhere.
Everyone said hit the floor, so everyone was just like literally laying on top of each other. There were people hiding underneath my car for cover.
It happened on the final night of the 3-day Route 91 Harvest Festival outside the Mandalay Bay Resort. The chaos unfolding as country singer Jason Aldean was performing. Police say the barrage of bullets were fired from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay.
The gunshots lasted for 10 or 15 minutes. Like, it didn't stop.
Knocking frantic concert goers to their knees. People running for their lives.
People were climbing the fences, pushing their way through. The barricades were coming down. People were screaming, crying. Everybody was just trying to get out.
We had a man come running up to us, blood down his shirt, saying his friends are dead, and please come help.
I have 3 critical patients in my vehicle. I'll be taking them to Sunrise. Is there any available vehicles to assist me with keeping traffic out of my way?
One witness capturing the horror from above, swarms of people scattering for their lives.
Yeah.
No!
Babe, you're okay, I promise. We can't go yet. We can't go yet.
And this city has virtually been paralyzed since 10:08 last night. We do understand the freeway, Interstate 15, which is a direct route from California up through Utah, is now open for through traffic. Exits are still closed at this point. The airport, McCarran International, the runway is right to my left. Over 24 flights were curtailed. They were not allowed to land. I have seen one plane land since we have been here, and I think the lasting memory at this point of what we're hearing from the police is that family members are in search of their family members this morning, not knowing what hospital they may be in, not knowing what condition they may be in. Allison, John?
To that end, Gene, they did put out a number. The Sheriff's Department did put out a number. I'll read it right now, and maybe CNN New Day's Twitter account can tweet this out to everybody. 866-535-5654. That's 866-535-5654. Obviously, there's just mass confusion after something as horrific as this. We want to bring in Jim Galliano and Joe Giacalone, who are standing by. These are our law enforcement experts who have been with us all morning. So this is, Jim, is worse than we could ever have imagined. It is the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. 50 people at least were mowed down from the window of the Mandalay Bay, the 32nd floor. We do know the sheriff confirmed the shooter who was killed. His identity, Stephen Paddock. He's 64 years old. We don't know much more else about him. They didn't share any motivation. If they've found any sort of evidence on social media or any note, what do you hear in what the sheriff said and what's happening?
Well, from what the sheriff said, Allison, we've learned a couple things. Obviously, we talked earlier, the age of the shooter is just usually outside of the bracketing of the folks that...
64 is older than sometimes the 20-something-year-old.
Or 30-something, 30, 35.
It's older 40. Than all of them. I mean, as far as we can tell, we've gone back and looked at the mass shootings in the United States, and it's tragic there are so many, but this would be the oldest perpetrator that we've seen.
Absolutely. And with the number now having risen to 50 casualty or 50 confirmed dead, I fear it's going to be more as I continue to listen to the chilling machine gun fire. And that's what it was. When I first heard it, I thought it was a crew-served weapon from Afghanistan. So the sheriff confirmed there were multiple rifles, but he also had to have extended magazines because an automatic weapon typically has a 20 or 30 round magazine, and he had additional rifles cached and probably just fired one till it was empty or the barrel got hot, dumped it, picked up the second, and continued shooting into the biomass.
And Joe, based on what we've heard, what is information that we've been given by the Sheriff's Department, what can you tell about the killer? Again, 64 years old, multiple guns, knew enough to choose that room on the 32nd floor because it looked out over this mass of thousands of people.
Well, it definitely looks like extensive planning. I mean, there's going to be some evidence of that. I think they're going to find it when they're executing the warrants in his house and the cars. I think they're going to uncover a lot of material, whether it's a manifesto that he's written or, social media posts. I think that's going to play a big role in this. And, to try to, get drilled down to what made this guy tick, what prevented it, what made him do such a thing.
Just a little more background. This was the final day of a 4-day concert. This is the Route 91 Harvest Festival. It's the 4th year that they've had this. Country Music Entertainer of the Year, Jason Aldean, was on stage. He was just finishing up his set. So this was the last moment of this big celebration. Hard to know if obviously any of that was in the shooter's head. We spoke to one of the Sirius XM hosts who was on stage with Jason Aldean. He just said, like everybody, at first when this is happening, you can't believe it. Your mind can't go there. You think it's pyrotechnics. You think it's fireworks. You think it's anything but this. That somebody is just mowing down in cold blood all of these concert goers. We just don't have enough information yet. But look, you guys deal with this all the time. This isn't the first mass killing we've seen at a concert. These big venues are soft targets now.
Sure. And Allison, as you point out, the amplification of music and sound and the fact that a number of the witnesses have now said they thought that the initial barrage of gunfire was the end of the show fireworks. And so that kept people in more of an unsuspecting mode for a lot longer and let this person continue to kill folks. I thought it was also interesting here in that the place that he picked, we talked about soft targets. People know that trying to get bombs on airplanes are difficult now. They know that attacking a federal building or doing something inside a venue is difficult. But to have that proximity and to have that elevated high ground, the fact that he was in a commanding position to be able to shoot down from not that far distance with a rifle that, could reach that distance quite easily, and then just to spray into the biomass. And I fear there are going to be more dead listening to the sounds of that gunfire.
And again, the number right now is at least 50 people dead, more than 200 injured. And that number 50, it went up by 30 just over the course of 90 minutes in the early morning hours. So yes, I fear tragically that number will go up. We also heard, Joe, from a witness, Stormy Warren, who was on stage. Well, there was tons of security at this concert, which there are now. There is. At most concerts in America right now, there's big security, but that doesn't account for the nearby buildings, the hotel. You didn't have to have a ticket for the concert to check into that hotel.
Yes, and this is what happens. Everybody felt safe because of all the different measures that they put in for this. Not thinking that this could happen from a half a mile away or a quarter mile away. And that's the thinking behind this. And you know what? What Stormy was also telling us, too, that he saw the bullets raining down onto the stage. That's where he knew to look up. But everybody else in the crowd, they were concentrating on, what the music and the entertainers. They weren't interested in about anything else, but he saw it hitting right in front of him. And that's what led him to look up. But unfortunately, everybody else was just kind of concentrating on what's going on because that's what they're there for.
So this gunman, again, we only know scant details, but 64 years old. I know that jumps out at both of you because that, as John points out, is the oldest shooter of a mass shooting. They're generally much younger. In terms of what you would think that his background would be, how hard is it to shoot an automatic weapon? You don't have to be a marksman or an expert or having been in the military, right? You can this is the kind of weapon you just fire down and it finds victims.
Absolutely. And obviously, purchasing one of those, you can't do that in the United States. But are there some that are out? Sure. Or could people buy a semi-automatic weapon and then modify it, make an illegal modification to it to allow a semi-automatic weapon to become a fully automatic weapon? That was automatic weapon fire, no doubt about it. Nobody was squeezing the trigger and got that sustained rate of fire.
I want to tell you right now, the president did just put out a statement on Twitter. Let me read it out loud to you right now. My warmest condolences and sympathies to the victims and families of the terrible Las Vegas shooting. God bless you. Again, that is the first we have heard from the president this morning, 7:12 a.m. on the East Coast. Our Joe Johns is at the White House with the very latest. Joe, I can imagine the president has been briefed.
It's clear the president has been briefed. This is a statement that was put out to the White House media pool just a few minutes ago and disseminated to all of the news organizations that are party to it. It reads, the president's been briefed on the horrific tragedy in Las Vegas. We're monitoring the situation closely and offer our full support to state and local officials. All of those affected are in our thoughts and prayers. So as I said, that's been put out across the White House to the media news organizations. What's interesting is that the president himself, though he's been extremely active on Twitter over the last 48, 72 hours, has not himself tweeted on the issue of Las Vegas. There we go. Oh, we just got something, and it still has not come up on my phone, so perhaps you can tell me. But it's been a while since the president's taken this long, and it's also very interesting, I think, to say that the president has been very quick off the draw to talk about mass casualty events, whether in the United States or other places, and this time he's held off a bit. I know that comes not too long after the president said that he wants to get all the facts before weighing in on certain issues. So perhaps you can tell me at this time what that tweet says, because it's not up on my phone.
Joe, I'll read it right now. Joe Johns of the White House. Again, Joe's News says the president has been briefed. This is the statement the president just put out on Twitter. My warmest condolences and sympathies to the victims and families of the terrible Las Vegas shooting. God bless you. That came up from the president again after 7 a.m. I did say that the shooter here, believed to be one of the oldest in any mass shooting we've seen, the shooter at the Republican baseball practice last spring was also older than 60 as well. So this is the second time we've seen someone in the older years do something like this, which is odd. Joe, talk to me about this crime scene. It's a huge crime scene right now. You have essentially the Las Vegas Strip in this very big concert venue right in the middle of it. These are some live pictures right now.
Certainly, I mean, but you have multiple crime scenes, right? Because you're going to have his house, you're going to have his cars, and of course you have this park where it's going to be a huge undertaking because of all the ballistics that have to be recovered from this, any of the other information that they're going to be able to find. They have to coordinate a crime scene search where they're going to use a grid pattern so that they don't miss anything. They're going to have to flag all the different pieces of evidence that they do find. And then also, you got to remember, there's going to be evidence, unfortunately, at the hospital where some of these victims have passed away now. So they're going to have to go and collect those things too. So, I mean, this is a huge undertaking for any police department. But this one is going to be extremely difficult to deal with because of the amount of people that have been killed.
Jim, investigators like you always try to figure out what this is, what the motivation was. Is this terrorism? I mean, isn't it domestic terrorism, something that rains terror down on thousands of people at a concert? What's the technicality that would keep them from calling this domestic terrorism?
Absolutely. The difference between domestic terrorism and international terrorism is just simply where it originates. So is it somebody that was born here, or is it somebody that comes from some other place? I think the military is often criticized, and they say generals are always caught fighting the last war. But we have to look back at what's happened, and we have to make sure to try to prevent those type of things, but be forward-leaning, because whatever we do to prevent a terrorist act, the terrorists are always thinking of something else. Okay, they can't hit hard targets, we'll hit a soft target. And Sun Tzu, I think the Chinese general from 500 BC once famously said that there are no stable conditions in warfare. It's like water. It doesn't retain its shape. Terrorism is the same way. We have to look at this and learn from this. This is eerily reminiscent of August 1st, 1966, the University of Texas clock tower shooting, eerily reminiscent of that, where you have somebody in a high position. And again, he knew he wasn't going to survive that. He knew that the police were going to interdict it. Same thing here. There was no getaway car. There was no plan. There was no seeking out of a negotiated settlement. I'll turn myself in if. There was none of that. Kill as many people as possible and then either be vanquished by the police or kill yourself.
Right, you can't get into a concert, find a building near the concert, work your way around it. Again, this is the largest, deadliest mass shooting, we believe, in U.S. history. More than 50 people killed, more than 200 injured. The suspect, Stephen Paddock, 64 years old, he is dead. He was killed in the hotel room on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. Numerous other guns inside that hotel room. We did just get some other news from our White House reporters. Jeff Zeleny reporting that an administration official tells CNN that the president's trip to Puerto Rico, which was planned for tomorrow, is now under review. I think the White House looking at the situation right now, trying to get a sense of Las Vegas and the aftermath, and will decide whether or not the president still does go to Puerto Rico to see the damage there himself.
There had been a person of interest for a couple of hours the police were looking for. It was a woman. She was described as a roommate or a companion somehow of this gunman. The sheriff came out and said that she has been located. We assume that they are talking to her. She will obviously, Joe, be their best link to what his mindset was, who he was, what his background is, why he did it.
Well, certainly, and they're also going to ask if she knew anything, why didn't she tip the police off? If he's been talking about this, I mean, you just don't go into a hotel room, somebody with bags full of guns, and then walk away and say, like, okay, bye, see you later. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered here, but they're going to treat her with kid gloves initially because she's going to be their number one source of information. But I think as soon as that's over with, I think she's going to be facing some stiff penalties.
Gentlemen, please stand by. We're going to need your help. We want to go now, though, to Jake Owen. He's a country music star. He was on stage next to Jason Aldean while this horrible scene was unfolding, and he joins us now. Jake, where are you this morning?
Hi, how are y'all doing? I'm actually still on my tour bus in a parking lot. It's about 300 or 400 yards away from the stage. I somehow made it over here from the stage area when the shooting started. It was ringing off the top of the stage. You could hear it hitting trailers, people scattering, and it was chaos. I've never and don't ever want to ever be a part of anything like this ever again.
Yeah, of course. And so what happened? Were you playing on stage with Jason, and how long did it take to figure out what was unfolding?
I was standing there, I had just come off stage before Jason's set, and I was back out there like we always do. We're all friends out here, and I was out there watching the show and wanted to support him. And, all of a sudden, you just heard a couple individual what sounded, you would ask yourself, that sounded kind of like a gunshot, And then next thing you know, it was just unloading on, like, no doubt, an automatic sounding rifle or some sort of machine gun or something. And at that point is when you could tell the chaos and the fear in everyone's eyes, and their demeanor was changed, and everyone just started scrambling for any sort of cover. But the way it's set up and the way that you can see where the guy was in Mandalay, I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel from where he was. I hate to say that, use that sort of term, but I mean, I feel so bad for these people, and we're all lucky. We were just talking about this on my crew, everyone else's crew backstage. We're so lucky that none of us were in the line of fire, because there's so many innocent people that were there to have a great time, and that's what we're here to do for them, and they've lost their lives.
Yeah, it's just, the numbers are staggering. Jake, I don't know if you've gotten an update, but at least 50 people have been killed.
Yeah, I mean, when this thing started, and I got back to the bus, and that was another thing, this is not an exaggeration. This shooting was going on for at least 10 minutes. I mean, it was nonstop. And by the time I got back to the bus after hopping a few fences, and we were all laying down in the middle of the bus, and the gunfire was continuing outside. So this is something that was an ongoing situation.
God, Jake, look, this was a huge outdoor concert. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of people there. Before you go and play at an event like this, do you think about any sort of worst case scenario? What was security like last night?
Security is always great at these festivals. Our friend Brian O'Connell was the promoter for this festival. This is the second time I've been here, and I quite frankly was looking so forward to coming back here to Vegas and doing the show. They do such a great job, and I say that because the festival itself, they are great with security. And Las Vegas as a whole, with their responders, from their paramedics to their police department. I mean, everyone, you could tell people were doing everything they could to keep people safe. And but to answer your question, I mean, we don't ever step on stage and think to ourselves something like this is going to happen. And I mean, I think we're all so blessed and lucky to live in this country where we literally take this safety almost for granted sometimes because of the men and women that fight for our freedom. And it's just unfortunate that these types of things have now become our reality.
I'll say, when you started hearing what you determined pretty quickly was automatic weapon fire, were there moments where you were taking cover on the stage with the other performers, or did you run right to your tour bus?
We started running. I actually was on the opposite side of the stage of where my personal tour bus was. So I can't even get to my tour bus now. It's a crime scene. They won't let us on it. They won't let us anywhere near it because it was in the line of fire of everything that was happening over there. But I made it over to where all of our crew buses were parked on the far side of the stage, where I still am. We haven't even left the bus. And I'm just, I'm following the news here, watching you guys cover this, and it's just something that's, now hearing that it's the largest mass shooting in our history of our country. It's just mind-boggling. I've got a little girl back home in Florida, and I just can't wait to give her, a kiss, and we're so lucky.
How quickly after this were you able to talk to your family?
I tried calling them immediately. I think it caught them off guard. They were dead asleep back in Florida on a 3-hour time difference. So I think that hasn't necessarily. I don't know if it's necessarily hit them yet. But we're all out here kind of in shock. I've got a friend of mine with me here that got separated from her husband. We couldn't get a hold of him, so we were all scared on how her family was doing. But now we've gotten word that everyone's okay. So. There's a lot of people that weren't, though, and it was a scary situation, and I wouldn't wish this upon anyone, and I think, all need to just continue to stand up and fight these cowards that are doing this, because this isn't what America was built to be. We're stronger than this.
Yeah. Jake, it just looks as terrifying as we could ever imagine. I mean, just the chaos that ensued, the terror of hearing those shots. And again, this is just such a normally happy, celebratory event. It's the Route 91 Harvest Festival. It's the 4th year of it. All of you guys, all of you country stars there play. Everybody was just, rocking out and having a great time. Have you connected with any of the other performers at this point?
I have. I've checked in with quite a few of the guys, and everyone's doing okay. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, our job is to come out here and we make sure these people smile and have a good time and sing along with their families and friends. And I saw kids on their parents' shoulders tonight, and this is going to be something that they'll never forget. And it's up to us as entertainers and to continue to come out here and make people smile and sing our songs and not back down to this, because we can win this. I truly believe that. We're going to continue to do what we're meant to do.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, Jake Owen, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing everything that you endured last night with us. Obviously, we're thinking of you and everybody there tonight. Let's go.
Well, thank you, and thanks to all the people and responders here in Las Vegas that really, I'm sitting here firsthand watching them out the window, and they're doing everything they can, and I think everyone, outside of even the responders, just the citizens that were here helping one another. I mean, we live in a beautiful country. I think it's important for people to remember that stuff like this happens, but we're going to all be stronger because of it.
Well, Jake, thank you very much for that message. That is such an important message to hear this morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
John.
Hope he gets to go home and hug his daughter very, very soon. Again, the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. At least 50 people killed, more than 200 injured. The suspect, a 64-year-old man, has been killed on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel with numerous firearms in his room as well. We have another eyewitness joining us right now, 21-year-old Taylor Benj. He was at the concert in Las Vegas with his sister Kareem. Taylor joins me now. Taylor, thank you so much for being with us. You doing okay?
Yeah, I've had better nights, but I'm doing all right.
Tell me what you saw. I understand you were on the right side of the stage when the shooting started. What did you see?
At first, we were just watching the concert. I heard about 4 pops. It almost sounded like a firework or one of those things you pull the strings for. But then immediately after that, I noticed that the artist, he ran to the back and then the lights turned on, and a man not even 5 feet away from me. I don't want to go into detail, but I don't think he was with us much longer after that because of a bullet wound to the head. But as soon as I saw that, then I knew something was wrong. And, like the previous guy said, it was just unrelentless bullets. And I think the only reason he went to take a break is so the muzzle didn't weld itself shut and so he could keep shooting. And it was really horrible that everything that was going on. we started running to the left end because we could hear the shots were coming from Mandalay Bay, or at least in that general direction. But even, hurtling over everything and getting over the fences and whatnot, it almost felt like we were getting closed in, because no matter which direction you went in, no matter where you took cover, there was at least 2 to 3 bodies that were a part of it, and you didn't know where you were safe.
Where did you go, and how long was it before you did know you were safe?
Honestly, I didn't even know I was safe until about an hour or 2 after the fact. Once my sister and I, we started running to the left, and every time they shot, we took cover because, you don't want to be the one guy who's just standing up running, because for all we knew, that would just make us a target. But my sister, being as noble as she is, she actually threw herself on top of me and was saying, "I love you, Taylor, I love you." And I'll never forget that. But we didn't know we were safe until, like, we were sitting in the McCarran, one of their hangars almost. A car almost ran through the gate just to get on the runway, just to get away from that location. Because as far as we knew, there was multiple gunners, and we didn't know which direction they were coming from, and the employees at the time weren't letting us in because they didn't know what was going on. But even an hour and 30 minutes, I didn't even know if I was safe.
You said you believe the gunfire was coming from the Mandalay Bay. Did you have any sense, and it can be very hard to tell this kind of thing, did you have any sense it was coming from above, from the 32nd floor?
A part of me did, just because of the vantage point he must have had to get some of the shots that I've seen, because there was a tent, and if it were on this side and I took cover here, there were still bodies on that side of people just laying in pools of blood. And I still didn't even know if that was safe or not, but it's kind of a fight or flight situation. You can't really, you just got to take it to God at that point, and hope that you can make it, and hope that you're safe. And I know I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I'm just, I was agnostic going into that concert, and I'm a firm believer in God now, because there's no way that all that happened and that I made it, and I was blessed enough to still be here alive talking to you today.
We've heard stories from people in and around there saying that despite the chaos we've seen, and we've seen some horrific video of the incident and the aftermath, that despite that chaos, people were doing whatever they could to help whoever they could. Did you see that as you tried to get yourself to safety?
I did see a cop, and I hope he's, okay right now. He had an assault rifle in his hand, and I did see him take cover and try to aim back to see where the bullets were coming from. He must have fired at least 200 to 300, maybe 500 rounds into the crowd from, I believe it was the 32nd floor, Mandalay Bay, from what I was told and heard. But just in terms of everything, I saw a bunch of people trying to help. Unfortunately, I also saw a lot of loved ones with their significant others holding them as they passed, and unfortunate things like that. But a lot of it was, people tried to help everyone, and I even, just to get to my car, since it was kind of far, I hopped in the back of some guy's pickup truck, and he stopped and gave me a second to just hop in the back. But I believe they went to the hospital because one of them got shot. But there was a lot of people out there helping, especially Metro and SWAT and all of them.
Taylor Bench, we're glad you made it. So sorry that you had the night that you did. Please give our best to your sister Kareem as well. We're lucky to have each other to pull through this horrific evening. Thanks, Taylor.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
This is CNN Breaking News.